Oh yeah, nobody really had any money, and they were, the McNutts were getting all the help from a lot of the race guys that come up and help work on the track and stuff too. Myself, I'd done a lot of work on the track and just get my way paid in. I didn't have any money, I was just a kid, and I would get in for nothing and just help out on the track through the week and on the weekends. And when my first race was in '56, and back then I'd go around trying to bum a ride from anybody.
Yeah.
And I was 15, and
you're 15 years old.
Yeah.
You can't drive a car, but you're driving a race.
Right.
Okay.
I had my folks sign a release for me. Of course, my folks were good friends of the McNutts too, and finally, I think a guy by the name of Chuck Bacon had an old Chevy sedan, and he was a nice old guy. And I come up and I says, "Hey, let me drive your car." And he says, "Go ahead, run the heat race." So I went out and run the heat race. And I don't even know if I finished it or what happened, but that was the first race I ever drove. And then I drove one other one, and Carl Halpenny's car. He had a 35 Ford or something. In a heat race, I didn't do anything in either race, but that was my first races. But that's the way I started out racing, was just trying to beg a ride from somebody. And being a kid, you didn't care anyways, you just didn't know any better.
I know that you had a terrible accident there, and could you describe what happened?
Yeah, it was, that was when I was 15, and I couldn't get a ride from anybody, and I was helping on the track, and they had we're watering the track. The track was real dusty that day, so they stopped in the middle of the race, and they had a big old boiler tank on the back of a hay wagon, and didn't really have it strapped on too good apparently, and and we just filled it up with water, and we was going around. I was on the back of the trailer turning the water off and on because we were trying to water the turns, and Don McNutt was driving the tractor, and he turned the wrong way on the turn against the bank, you know, so all of a sudden the wagon started tipping, the tank started rolling. Your first thought was to try to hold the tank. Well, you don't hold 3 ton, you know. Meanwhile, I got my foot caught under it, and I got back far enough so when I fell on the ground, the tank fell on top of me, but it crushed my left upper leg and cut the muscles off my right arm. That's when I was in a body cast I was in the hospital for 4 months for 16 weeks in traction. And I should have been dead if I didn't. We had a real good doctor back then by the name of Doc Childress, and he was really a miracle man with bones and stuff, and he saved my life and saved my leg, and I was in the hospital for 16 weeks in a traction, and then I was in a body cast for another 16 weeks. So about the last 2 months of the body cast time, I figured out how I could get around on crutches and get out of bed, so I was going to the races. I had trouble riding because you're just stiff all the way from,
oh, yeah.
You know, so you couldn't get in the car, so I'd walk back and forth to Watts Flats on my crutches, and then I'd walk to the racetrack and back on my crutches.
Regret your racing career? What I'm saying is you spent a lot of money racing cars for those 40 years.
Right.
Did you ever stop to think, geez, if I put that money in the bank, you know, I could have done this?
Yeah.
Did you ever regret your career, or are you satisfied with the way it progressed?
No, I never regretted anything because it's, no matter what you do, if I had 10 times the money I have right now, I'd still live the way I live and do what I do, and I imagine I would do most everything that I'd done if I had it to do over again. I really enjoyed my life, and I met a lot of nice people. And I had somebody ask me the other day, you know, did it really bother you turning 65? And I says, no, it really didn't, because you know, something happened, I could pass away. I mean, you're not looking for it, but I could die tomorrow and feel completed, you know. I've enjoyed what I've done and lived a fulfilled life.
As you were racing, Skip, was there a time that you'd like to say, gee, I would have liked to try in the NASCAR circuit, or I would have tried? Was there an aspirational area where you'd like to go to, or were you comfortable in the regional racing?
Well, looking back, yes, there's. I knew that, you know, for the times and everything, NASCAR was really out of the question, because you had to have somebody that was backing you in it, and just everybody couldn't do something like that. The only thing I do regret, and I always think back on it, is I would have liked to have tried blacktop one time, you know, to see what it was like, and that's where Jimmy had, you know, had that part of his life that fulfilled him, where at the time we always laughed about blacktop, you know, dirt was where it was at, and blacktop's what you use to get there, so.
If you were on a kind of that last lap with one person, who was the person you wouldn't want to be on that last lap with?
With the guys I've raced with?
Yeah.
Tom Dell. The funniest part about Tom is he was the nicest guy you'd want to meet, but he was a...
Parky in a heartbeat.
And sit there and laugh about it.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd take you out and be just grinning all the way.
Tell me about Jim Scott. What kind of guy was he?
On the racetrack?
That's a two-part answer. Yeah. We can go the first part if you want.
Jim and I have always been great friends. He's always been a real good race driver. He's very competitive. And we really didn't have that much racing together, because about the time I got in the late model, he was, I think we'd run 1 or 2 years together or something. But, I never had any trouble with Jim. He was a tough runner. There wasn't anybody tougher out there to run with. And he didn't give you an inch, and you didn't give him an inch, but we never had any problems.
Did you get a sense that this was for the love of it, or was it really driven by a little bit of the financial aspect of it, of competitive, winning money? And
No, definitely not the financial part. If it was, I would have never been in it, because it's just the love of the sport and the love of people, I guess. I really, that was the only way I probably could consider myself as being a ham. I like to show off in front of people, have them appreciate what you do.
Well, you did an awful lot for an awful lot of people. So thank you very much, and I appreciate it. And